There's a new guy in town, and his name is the Carnivore Diet. Now, to be honest, when I first heard of this diet, I was a bit skeptical because it seemed to go against everything that I was ever taught about good nutrition. But then Dr. Mark Hyman and Dr. Ken Berry, they were embracing this, especially for people that have cancer. And so that got my attention. So I started digging in a little bit, and it made a lot of sense. So I have as a special guest today on this episode of Your Best Life, someone whose opinion I really respect. I admire this person. She is very educated when it comes to nutrition, health, wellness, and fitness. And she's going to break it down for us today so you can learn about the carnivore diet. Stay tuned. Hi, and welcome to another episode of Your Best Life. I'm your host and healthy living correspondent, Beth Schomp. If you've watched any of my other videos, you have seen where I have educated you on different diets, the paleo, the keto, the vegan, the vegetarian, but there was one diet that I was waiting to educate you on, and it's called the carnivore diet. And I have a personal friend and a colleague of mine. I admire her so much, and she has really embraced this carnivore diet. And I thought, who better to educate you on this wonderful diet that doctors are embracing than Brooke Pauline. So Brooke, welcome to the show. Appreciate you being here. So Brooke, before we get into all the details of that, tell us a little bit about your background and what you do. The things you're passionate about.
Yes. Well, I'm really excited to be here, and you've been just an amazing inspiration and mentor and influence on my life from a healthy living standpoint, and watching what you've done with your family. So I am very honored to be in your presence and to discuss something that I'm so passionate about. So my background is in nutrition and health and fitness, and ever since I was a little girl, I wanted to be involved in the fitness industry in some way. But I actually studied integrative and holistic nutrition in Colorado. I grew up in the South, and I moved out there because I had struggled with a lot of mental health issues in college, from depression that I was on antidepressants from anxiety, and I just wanted to get off of medications and learn fundamentally, what was going on with my health. And I moved out to Colorado, and I started working at 24-Hour Fitness, where I met my husband and was able to study nutrition. And we opened a gym together. We both had a passion. He struggled with some addiction, and fitness saved his life. And our story was one of wanting to give back and teach people what we knew could not only help their lives, but also their children, and hopefully be able to share something that could help them not go through some of the things that we went through. And I think I eat, sleep, and breathe it ever since with my 5 kids today.
Well, I applaud you for taking charge of your own health. You recognize I have these challenges, and you took charge yourself. So I really applaud. You're a great role model for a lot of people in that regard. Over the years, you have chosen to take, a really specific approach to nutrition and health. I mean, obviously a very natural approach, but along the way, you uncovered this area of ancestral nutrition. Tell us a little bit about that. What is that? What does that mean? And why are you so passionate about it?
Well, it's such a good question, because I think there's so many, like you said earlier, there's so many different diets out there. There's so much nutrition knowledge, and we sometimes don't even know what to eat. And I just went back to the roots of when I studied nutrition, which was, if it has a face, eyeballs, roams the earth, has a peel, pit, or skin, that's what we should be eating, right? And in this world of highly processed packaged foods, seed oils, and let's get back to our roots. And so ancestral living takes that a step further. It takes out the grains and the gluten and the sugars and the packaged, and it goes back to what did our ancestors used to eat, and how did they eat? We were talking earlier about all of this snacking, and people feel like they have to eat every so many hours. Well, our ancestors didn't do that. They went out for the hunt, for the kill, And then they fed their whole family, and they fed their family fat, and they made butter, and they ate the organ meat, and they were healthy, and their dental health was amazing. And it really went back to years ago. I studied a dentist, believe it or not, by the name of Weston A. Price. Now, he has been gone since 1948. But if you go back to what he studied and what he uncovered, he went and studied the Aborigines in different cultures, and he studied the healthiest humans on the planet. And it all went back to ancestral living. And I studied him, Beth, even when I had my first child, because I was struggling with nursing, and he taught me how to make my own baby formula. And I remember listening to some of the information that he had put out, and that he's got a great foundation today. You can look it up. It's westonaprice.org. And I just remember being fascinated by it. And I don't think they called it ancestral living and nutrition back then, but that's become the movement today, which is also another version of carnivore.
Now, for a while, you followed a vegan diet.
I did.
And now you are all in carnivore. So explain to the audience actually what is carnivore. And then maybe even if you can kind of share a little bit of the comparisons and why you left vegan and went to carnivore.
Right. So carnivore, there's several different versions of carnivore depending on what stage you're at or kind of what you believe in. But the gist of carnivore is putting your meat first, red meat first, right? And that can also be seafood and chicken and fish. Now, strict carnivores, they'll use more just red meat, right? They'll focus on ruminant animals and red meat. There's a version of carnivore, which is what I do, which is meat, fish, chicken, but putting all of the animal protein first, using dairy as a condiment, if you will. And then your fats coming from natural sources as well, whole butter and whole fat cream. So it's just back to how I always say this on my Instagram page now, like how our grandparents used to eat, right? Like on the farm, if you can think about that, like homemade whole foods, right. That would be carnivore. And you can take it in different stages. And that's really where it spun from the ancestral way of life. And so there's also something called animal-based, and animal-based will incorporate fruits. Like I said, peel, pit, skin. So that's how we feed our children. They eat fruits and, so there's different versions, but the true basis of carnivore is putting that animal food, highly nutritious food first, because it is loaded with vitamins and minerals and things that we can't always get from what the standard American, the SAD diet is. To answer your question about the transition from vegan to carnivore, which, when I was very public about that, I remember having this fear of like, people aren't going to trust me. Like, how do you go from vegan, which is anti-animal? And the reason I came to the vegan lifestyle in the first place was I was searching for optimal health. And every nutrition course that I was taking, Beth, was pushing this agenda, was pushing this vegan diet, or whether you look at it as pushing it or not, because that can obviously be interpreted differently. I had a lot of questions about it. What this vegan movement was taking over. Everything that was in the nutrition world was now vegan. We were watching doctors, we were listening to things, and I've always been fascinated by nutrition. And having struggled with mental health, having struggled with an eating disorder and disordered eating, I was obsessed with learning, gosh, could this make us even healthier? And prior to vegan, Jason and I always, my husband and I, in our gym, we always prioritized protein. But we thought, let's see what this is about, because I'm never going to teach anything that I haven't tried on my body first. So we came to this vegan lifestyle to really get our questions answered. Instead of just believing what we were hearing, we wanted to test that on our bodies. And it was okay at first. I think anytime you make a change away from packaged and processed and you're eating more, like I said, from the earth, you're going to feel better. But what happened to me is I developed what's called SIBO, small intestinal bacteria overgrowth. Right. And I was very bloated and I was miserable, and I started to notice my look changed and I didn't look as vibrant and healthy. And I think I was missing the amino acids and the protein that my body needed. But the SIBO was miserable. And my husband, I called him one day. I was crying. I was driving home from Boise, and I had done some nutritional seminars actually with a family. I was teaching their kids how to eat and make good choices. And meanwhile, I can't even like button my pants. I'm miserable. I'm in so much pain. They told me I would have to have a partial hysterectomy, just all of these issues. And I thought, no, I know that things can be healed through nutrition. And my husband called me. Of course, I'm crying, and he said, I want you to listen to this doctor, and I want you to learn about the carnivore diet because I think it could help you. And he talks about SIBO and some gut issues. And I thought, there's no way. Like, I haven't eaten meat. I'm going to try this, meal plan. And he hit on everything, not only from a SIBO perspective and gut perspective, but from a eating disorder perspective. And why was I craving things all the time? And why did I want to eat all the time? And Beth, I was always hungry. I was like, I never could get enough food. No matter what diet I tried, like I just was always hungry. And I'm listening to this, and I had this big kind of epiphany. Well, I'm going to try it. Again, I'm not going to comment on it. I'm going to try it. And I will tell you, within 3 weeks of me going, and I went strict carnivore, I was desperate to heal. I had spent $1,500 on colonics. I would do anything, right, to thrive, to feel good. And I think that's where a lot of people come to the vegan lifestyle, is they're looking for better nutrition. We want to heal. We're looking for nutrition. We want to find a way to have optimal health and to thrive. Right. And it was incredible. And I've never looked back. The bloating is gone. The addiction that I didn't realize I was handcuffed to for probably 20, 30 years was gone. And my body, my hair was growing back. And like, I couldn't believe just the changes that were going on with me, really starting to get these vitamins, nutrients, and minerals. But the biggest thing was the change in my gut health and the SIBO really making a full remission and transformation within weeks of the carnivore diet.
Hi, sorry for interrupting the show. I just wanted to take a moment to let you know about one of my passions other than hosting this show. I belong to an exclusive wellness shopping club, and I've done so for over 20 years. I trust them with my health and my family's health. This club provides US made, safe, affordable health, household, beauty products, things that we use every single day. Anyway, I'll let you get back to the show, but if you have any questions about joining, I provided info below. Bye. This can be, and you know this can be a little bit of a controversial topic for people that have very strong opinions about other lifestyles. And when Brooke and I say diet, what we really mean is lifestyle.
Correct.
We're not going to do something for a period of time. It's a lifestyle. And so when Russ, of course, got cancer, we immediately started juicing. And that served a purpose because he really couldn't eat a whole lot. And by juicing, it allowed me to be able to get 11 fruits and vegetables in a jar, and he would drink it every day. And even today, there's no way he would eat all that. And I'm still a proponent of getting those nutrients for him in that way. But here's the thing that I want the audience to know, especially if you have someone who has cancer in your family. Our holistic practitioner was from the very beginning encouraging us to get on a keto diet. And the keto and carnivore, they're kind of, in a way, I think, cousin. They're very similar to it. And I did push back, not verbally. I just really didn't listen to her because I was thinking, no, we need to limit the red meat and all this other. But I'm going to tell you where we had a really good run, and then I saw some labs start to go in the wrong direction. This about 6 months ago, and I knew it. I knew instinctively he's not getting enough protein. And yeah, I know you can do plant-based protein and all of that, but I knew it that in my gut that was the problem. And so we decided, and I had a conversation with him, and I had a conversation with a holistic practitioner too, and she backed me up on this. And so we have really incorporated red meat. We're fine with chicken, we're fine with fish, but we've really ramped the red meat up. Now we still do the fruits and vegetables because we want to be able to do that. That's our kick to it. But I can't express enough that the power of protein, and specifically from red meat. Russ had
Absolutely.
issues in his blood that weren't cancer. Well, they are kind of cancer related. She was concerned. One of Russ's tests showed his homocysteines were high. And I said, well, tell me what that means. And she said, well, it means is he has sticky blood. And I said, well, tell me what that means. And she said, his body is producing these blood clots. That's the homocysteines issue. She said, now his body is also dissolving them just as fast as he's making them. But there's two things to keep in mind. Number one, if you can eliminate that problem, which you can do by increasing your red meat, then your body's not working so hard to dissolve those clots, and its energy can be spent in a better way. But the other thing about sticky blood and cancer is it's a breeding ground for cancer cells. You know, cancer is always looking for a place to take up a home. And so we've really, I can't tell you that we personally have sat down and really done the carnivore diet, but truthfully, I was really waiting to hear more from you. But Dr. Mark Hyman, Dr. Ken Berry, some people that I follow, they really embrace this, and specifically for cancer.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's
absolutely
fascinating. And, you know, to push red meat is really to look at it as nature's multivitamin, the amount of iron and B vitamins and things that your body needs. And it can be demonized. And regardless of your stance on fruits and vegetables, I think that's a personal decision based on what you're going through physically. You're right, prioritizing protein is key, but it's getting cancer feeds on sugar. Mm-hmm. Cancer feeds on the grains, the oats, that. So that again is always going back to eating with nature. What's growing from the ground? Absolutely. Staying, you know, you're eating from your refrigerator, from what's natural, not what's from your pantry. Mm-hmm. And I think that's the biggest message, regardless of which direction you start to go, is get rid of the sugars, the grains, the packaged foods, mm-hmm. which you would not put in Russ's body now because cancer is going to feed there, right?
Absolutely.
And really starting to retrain our brain that red meat isn't bad. Mm-hmm. You know, we've been that's been put into our brain for so long, and me included, and even through nutrition courses, that there is a place for it. And you and I agree with this as well, as I do believe in good, healthy meats and mm-hmm. hormone-free beef and no antibiotics. And of course there's, you know, that's a whole nother topic, but
let's talk about that for a second. Let's talk about that for a second, because in our audience minds right now, they're thinking what we thought, which is, oh, wait a minute, red meat's bad. No, it's what people put into red meat that's bad. The hormones, the antibiotics, you know, all of the grains and all of that. There's a way to get good, great beef. It's out there. And so you just have to know your resources. And
I'll go a step further, Beth. It's not the meat, it's what we're eating with the meat. Maybe it's the grains you're eating. Maybe it's the packaged food you're eating. Maybe it's the potatoes and the, you know, mashed potatoes. And so it's not the beef, it's what are you eating with that? Yeah. Because as you know, what we put in our mouth is either going to feed disease or heal us.
Yeah.
And it's not the meat, it's what we're eating with it. So I always tell people, look at that. Let's get rid of step one. You don't even have to call yourself carnivore or animal based or label it. But if we can get rid of, and I think grains are a huge culprit. I used to think oatmeal was so healthy. It's not for my body, right? I don't do well with grains. I have a lot of gut issues. And so focusing on getting rid of anything processed like that, mm-hmm. and then saying, okay, how am I doing with meat now? And I think that's the biggest issue. So people will make some changes and think it's the meat, where it's really what they were eating with it.
Right. So tell us, you're a mom of 5, right?
Yes.
So tell us, what is a day in the life of Brooke's family in feeding these kids? Your kids are ages what to what now?
Almost 16 down to 7.
What's the oldest?
16.
16 to 7. Wow. Okay. So you've got 5 kids in this almost 10-year span. Walk us through, as a mom who has to feed these 5 children, how do you pull that off?
So we eat We cook in bulk, first of all, because I'm feeding not only 5 children, but 2 teenage boys and one that eats like a teenage boy. And they're in football and wrestling, and they're trying to put on muscle, and protein is a big focus in our house. So for breakfast, we probably do anywhere from 12 to 18 eggs that I scramble up, and we do bacon and sausage. And I am, just like you, I am a proponent of hormone-free. You can reach out to Beth and I. We've got all the tips and tricks of where you can get this really good quality and doing it on a budget. But so this morning we did eggs, bacon, sausage, and I always have some fresh fruit for them. For lunch, I always have chicken wings I make stacks of smash burgers. They're like these little thin burgers we do in our air fryer. And I've do
seen
bacon
that on your Instagram, which we'll talk about because I want everyone to be able to get your Instagram. But go on.
I make stacks of burgers. I use my air fryer all the time, and we prioritize protein. So when my children eat, it's protein first. And then their fruit or vegetable would be kind of on the side of that, again, as a condiment, or their dairy. We do a lot of Greek yogurt because that's kind of an easy, quick fix. I make meatloaf at night, and we do steaks galore. So my kids are big steak eaters, ground beef, steak strips, and we do fish and seafood, and I made oysters the other night, but they love meat and beef, and it actually makes my decisions at night a little bit easier because it's always a big protein. I don't have to worry about some fancy meal, and we like to go to dinner, and we're normal. They do have the occasional donut on the weekends, and I make French toast with sourdough, homemade sourdough bread, and so I don't want you to think we're like hardcore, they're only eating meat, but we prioritize protein and we cook it in bulk. So that's always around. And if I can say to them, eat your protein first, here's what happens. They end up being satiated. That's what protein does to our body and our brain, is it satiates us. And so it helps with the cravings. So if I were just to give them fruit by itself, which is deemed healthy, but I'm not giving them protein, their insulin spikes and then they're starving 5 minutes later. So if you prioritize protein, they're not eating me out of house and home as much, and they're satiated and it's nutrient dense. So that's what we focus on. And my advice would just be to cook in bulk and cook a lot of it. And we make chaffles and we try to do fun things. And I make carnivore nachos and carnivore pizza and, have a little fun with it. But every meal that we provide for our children, we prioritize protein.
I knew we had to figure a way to get pizza in there. For the kids, so sure. Well, this has been great because you've really taken away the mystique out of, what people might think of it, and you make it seem very real and very doable, but more importantly, very beneficial. So thanks so much for joining us. I know our audience, and I want to make a plug for you. Brooke has a fabulous Instagram where she teaches these little easy but healthy recipes. So you're going to want to follow her. So if people want to reach you, Instagram is probably the best way, you think?
Yes, Instagram, and it's Little Fit Carnivore. So LIL_fit_carnivore. And recipes and workouts and day in the life with getting kids off screens, and just like you, like dedicating our life to nutrition and health and healthy lifestyle. And I love what you said, to make it a lifestyle, not a diet.
Yep.
And absolutely. I think that is where people will start to thrive.
Mm-hmm. So to our audience, thank you again for watching. Now, if you will, please like this video and subscribe to the channel. That really helps people like Brooke and I get the message out there to help more people. We want to help as many people live a healthy lifestyle. We want you to live your best life. If you have any particular questions, you can always reach me at my email, yourbestlife9@gmail.com. Until next time, be happy and be healthy.